G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad NRL Fantasy Show. I'm Stu, that's Dyl, and we are the Fantasy Bros. Very excited to have once again partnered with GameDay Squad this NRL season to bring you all you need to know to succeed in GDS Rugby League in 2026. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Team List Tuesday has dropped. And GDS coaches are starting their run home. Well, really, we're probably midway down that final straight. We're in search of leaderboard, cup, or prize card glory with just 3 rounds remaining. Dyl, welcome, mate. The season has come and gone super fast. Before we get into the positional previews tonight and reveal the players we hope to take us to glory, let's head around the grounds like always. How did you perform in round 24?
Yeah, g'day, Stu, viewers and listeners. Yeah, mate, look, I cannot believe it is round 25. We've got 3 rounds to go, and a lot of things happening. We've got the GDS Cup heating up, the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown, which we probably won't want to talk about because I think a couple of Fantasy Bros have been kicked out. But look, for me, some good results last week outside of that 7th in Champ, 13th in Classic, and somehow I still got that 6th in Sunday Showdown, which kind of annoying. I kind of wish I didn't put a team in because I would have beaten pretty much every other person that had made it through that to the next final. So that was a bit silly from my part. But look, my key player, we talked about him last week, Lockie Galvin. It's 56 points without any attacking stats at all. He was almost the perfect pod when Metcalf, or I think we should call him Met Hammy from now on. I think the way he's going, that was so tough to watch. But once he went down, I thought, yeah, I'm on to something here. Just need a fail from JC and it will get me across the line for sure. But unfortunately, he was able to get 50 points. So it was kind of annoying. He couldn't stay nice and low. It would have been a really good pod otherwise. But, mate, how did you go?
Yeah, well done, mate. Not as good. The amount of positives I spoke about Lachlan Galvin last week and didn't put him into any of my sides. We knew that the halves in the last 5 rounds had averaged huge despite only scoring 2 tries between them and only 3 of them being goal kickers. So well done, mate. You nailed that one. I did go with Lukey Metcalf in that situation. And, yeah, disappointing. A couple of weeks in a row, I've turned a game off pretty early because the one guy that I was having a lot of faith in went off pretty early. But no, my player of the round was Lindsay Smith. Really happy with his 67 points that he produced. But his minutes were down. We expected him to play, close to 80 in Isaiah Yeo's absence. I think he's averaged 72 when Isaiah Yeo hasn't been on the park, just the 52 minutes. But look, he didn't worry, only being on the field for 52 minutes. Still pumped out 35 tackles, 95 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, a try assist, and a line break assist. Gee, what could have been if that was a 72-minute performance? He was a diamond play in my challenger side, and I dare say he'll be a fairly popular play this round if people are tuning into tonight's show, because I will certainly be speaking highly of him. Once again, just the 10th in challenger for me, and top of that leaderboard, just ahead of Prison Mike. Shout out to Prison Mike.
Plenty of work there, though, to hold on to that top spot in the next 3 rounds for sure. And that's sort of one of the big things that we talk about each and every week is the safety play, and we're going to speak about that, no doubt, throughout the night. But look, we've had plenty of success. We continue to have some success across all the competitions, and it's always great to hear that anyone that is watching and supporting us, following along, is also having that success. So let us know in the comments how you went. Look, there's only a few shows left, but we'll still come to you every Wednesday night from 6 p.m. That time slot will remain for the rest of the season as well, because we have something else coming up that we'll talk about soon, I am sure. So make sure you subscribe to the Fantasy Bros YouTube channel. You don't want to miss a thing. We'll cover all our best plays. We'll cover our start sits. If you've got any questions around the start sits, please let us know as well. We'll talk through that consensus squad at the end of the show, as well as some of those players that we are going to fade, and then plenty of pods and salary pods along the way. We'll touch on some of the other special competitions, and then we'll finish off with our BroDown ShowDown segment, which, look, just quietly, I don't think you want to get to, but that's a bit of a spoiler for later on. If you haven't already, make sure as well you are following us across all of our socials. We don't just have rugby league content. We've got Aussie rules. We've got women's Aussie rules. We've got NFL as well coming to you very soon. So make sure you get around us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as YouTube. The support really means a lot to us, and it helps us in plenty of ways. Don't forget as well, we've got the website that's going to have the preseason NFL fantasy textbook up there very soon. That's fantasybrosau.com.
And absolutely, yeah, we say that every week, though. It's never too late to join GameDay Squad.
No.
All of those new sports just around the corner, obviously with the EPL, the Women's AFL, the NFL, which I am super excited for. New users can sign up using our special code FBRL26. You'll get 3 9-player common packs. Let us know if you would like to get some packs for a different sport, and we'll see what we can do. That's obviously for new users. If you don't really want the rugby league packs with only a couple of rounds left, put it up on Instagram or join the GameDay Squad Discord server and flick Dyl or I a message there, and we'll see what we can do. But if you're keen for those packs, you'll be able to get a whole heap of cards to get a contender rolling. You'll also get all of your bronze cards to enter a starter team. So think about what your favorite sport might be over the next few weeks, and make sure you sign up using that code and get involved in GameDay Squad. That's FBRL26. Rightio, Dyl. As always, let's get into the positional previews. Just before, it'd be remiss of me not to shout out Sif Kanga. Howdy. Let's get rowdy. That was 5:43, 17 minutes before the show went live. So, as always, just showing his appreciation for the live show and the Fantasy Bros. We got Ganners joining us as well. G'day, mate. How did you go on the week just gone? Dyl, let's start with the hooker position on screen. You can see we've got some strongly considers, some points of differences, and some fades. Dyl, for me, the hooker position is getting pretty tough. We used to sort of talk about Blake Brayley as the reliable 50-point scorer. What was that horrible score the weekend just gone? Jacob Little, we wanted 80 minutes from him. That didn't happen. Damien Cook came back on the field. And we got Harry Grant returning from injury, but a tough Penrith Panthers matchup. Is your starting hooker coming from those three before we preview some points of differences and the fades?
Yeah, it is tough. There's not really one jumping out at me. I'm probably tempted by Harry Grant a little bit more than the others. It's a big matchup with the Panthers tomorrow night. There's probably a lot of tackles on offer, I think, is the big one. Robson had 55 tackles last week in the similar game, and he missed a few as well. Obviously, that happens with a lot of our hookers. But 55 tackles in the middle. If Grant gets that and nothing else, he'd be pretty happy. Obviously, as you touched on, Brails recently has had a few pretty poor games, and it's the result of probably not making as many tackles as he usually does. So I think if we can get 50-plus tackles from Harry Grant through the middle, then yeah, I pretty much pick him every day of the week. Then look, in the past 3 years, I've had a bit of a look at Grant up against the Penrith side. He's played them 6 times, included one of those games being a finals matchup where I think he scored 80 in that game, 80 GDS points, but he's averaged 50 across those 6 games in the past 3 years. He's played them once this season. He only had 62 minutes on the park, and I could only reach 40 GDS points in that game. So I guess the concern for me is whether he does play the full 80. He hasn't played 80 minutes at starting hooker since around 20. He's been named to start, then moved to the bench. Potentially that might be the way again this week. Trent Talau's named in the halves, Wishart on the bench. There's every chance that Talau starts at hooker, Wishart starts in the halves, and Harry Grant moves to the bench as well, considering he's coming back from injury. If that happens, I'm probably just going to pivot straight to Brayley because I just don't know if I can trust a 60-minute Harry Grant. Just not as many tackles minutes on the field, not as many tackles, and more chance to miss some. So I think it'll be going to Brayley in that case. But yeah, at the moment, just Harry Grant for me.
Yeah, interesting. Plenty of tackles on offer in the middle there against Penrith. Just wonder how many he's going to drop off. Yeah, for me, I think you're spot on there with the minutes worry. There's obviously that hamstring that he's had to deal with. He's got a big post season as well, despite, the Storm not going to be playing finals football, which will be a nice little rest period for him. He's obviously got the World Cup and will play a big role there for the Aussies. So with that in mind, there's every chance that he does see less minutes on the field, given there's not too much to play for down in Melbourne there. Tough matchup there against the Penrith Panthers. So I could certainly see him getting a bit of a rest at some point. Jacob Little, not guaranteed of 80 minutes, despite teasing us 2 weeks ago. So that, really defaults me back to Blake Brayley. But if anyone wants to get a little bit spicy and look for some upside, we've got a couple of juicy matchups, maybe Owen Paddy there against the Brizzy Bronx or Jeremy Marshall-King. Any love for either of those, mate?
Yeah, it's probably more towards Jeremy Marshall-King. But before that, I think Brayley based on where he's been the last couple of weeks, he's gone really cold. Those back-to-back scores of under 40. He might be someone that people are just putting a line through this week because of those 2 scores. So he actually might be in that pod consideration as well. That did occur because he had a combined 10 negative scoring plays over the last couple of weeks. So if he can turn that around, then I think Brayley's a decent shout as well. And like I said, could be a pod. But for me, if I'm going elsewhere, I'm looking at Jeremy Marshall-King up against the Eels. They've allowed 46 to starting hookers in the past 3 weeks. And then Marshall-King returned a 58 last week against Manly. And that was all purely based. There was no power. There was no attack. There was no offload. It was just his tackle and running game that we saw. So give me JMK probably over the other 2 in terms of Paddy and Little. Paddy, because he's the under 24 start, he's going to get into that side, of course, into my under 24. So I think I'll just leave him there.
Yeah, I like that shout. Just quickly on Brayley, sorry, he had to play in the halves a little bit last week. We saw Braden Trindle go down early after that try, and he was sort of swapping with Puru and going out into the halves to defend. So his tackle numbers were down, then he'd come back in a hooker in attack. So, yeah, I think I'm happy to put a line through last week's 23-point performance. That might turn a few coaches off him, thinking that might happen again. So, yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about that last match there. Mate, I don't mind that Jeremy Marshall-King shout. I want Paddy as well. I've just got a sneaking suspicion he'll be throwing plenty of short balls to one big, solid forward playing his last game down there in Canberra. I think the boys in green are going to be doing everything they can to get Josh Papali'i a try in his farewell match down there in Canberra. But an absolute legend for the club. Has had plenty of opportunities to move elsewhere, maybe to some bigger clubs, but look, he's given Canberra his heart and soul. I think he'll be finding the try line, and it'll be a little short ball there from Owen Paddy. Even Simi Sasangi is probably playing at about 60% just to be on the field for Josh Papali'i's last match. That tells me that there's going to be something brewing down there in Canberra, and I wouldn't expect Owen Paddy to have a big game there. Mate, Reece Robson and Api Coruscant, both averaging decent in the mid-40s. Api likely kicking in Dewey's absence. Just quickly, no love for them this week?
Nah, up against each other Sunday afternoon. Both sides are really restricting hookers. The Tigers restricting 34 in the past 3, and then the Roosters only allowing 36. So, yeah, the upside is obviously Api kicking goals, but we've seen in the past that doesn't necessarily translate to points because the Tigers are pretty woeful at times at scoring tries, especially without Dewey in the side. So they've got to be scoring tries for him to be kicking goals, and that might not even happen based on the way that the Roosters are playing at the moment as well. Just quietly, the Roosters sneaking into top spot. Didn't really think about that the last few weeks, and they've just quietly gone about their business, and they're now sitting nice and pretty at the top.
Peaking at the right end of the season, that's for sure. Dyl, let's talk middles. I think it's a really difficult position to pick from this week, and there's probably 6 players that I am toying with, and I don't think there's actual locks for the middle position anymore. We used to talk, Terrell May, Payne Haas, Isaiah Yeo for a period of time, Alex Twal at the start of this season, just plug them and play them. I think there's a couple of other boys putting their hands up, particularly in our points of difference, that may be worth a look. And my question to you, we've got Terrell May still there. Is it over in Tiger Town? Is there much to play for down there? Is he still going to be ripping and tearing? Alex Twal returns. We've got him as a fade, so let us know why. But Alex Twal returns. The minutes drop for Terrell May now that Twal is back. I'm not too sure about what's happening down there in West Tigerland. And if the Roosters put on an absolute cricket score, that's just less minutes that Terrell May is cutting the ball up, making tackles and throwing offloads. I am very, very close to leaving him out of my side myself. Tell me why that's a bad idea. And if you're playing him, who are you playing him alongside?
Yeah, he's there at the moment. Look, it looks like for me at this stage, May, Haas, Couchman, and then the potential of either Smith or Willison, depending on probably a couple of things in terms of some pods, etc. But May, for me, look, he's gone 60-plus back-to-back weeks. He's really rewarded coaches who did hold. I know there was a period of time where we were talking about fading. Fantasy Bro Matt brought in the idea of fading May a few weeks ago. And look, it was after that game of 43 in round 21 where I think the majority of people jumped back on him, and unfortunately he got that 43. But it's aligned with that 60-plus over the last couple of weeks is aligned with that 60 plus minutes back on the field. We didn't see that in that 43-minute game. So, if he stays at that 60-plus minutes, I think he's still going to pump out that 1 point per minute, and I think I'm happy with that. Maybe there might not be as many offloads. Maybe he might not have as many tackle breaks, but he's going to have plenty of run meters. He's going to have plenty of tackles through the middle, as he usually does anyway. I don't think there's a concern with Twal back. May's averaged 60 minutes on the field this season with Twal in the side. It's resulted in 64 GDS points from May throughout the season. So he's got that 1 point per minute, even when Alex Twal's there. In fact, really, May's only fallen below 50 points once this season with Alex Twal in the side. So I don't think it diminishes his output. If anything, I think it's going to go the other way and potentially diminish Twal's output based on a few little niggling injuries. He had the illness last week that left him out, Twal. I'm not so concerned about it, but it's just that there's been a few weeks where he's been pulled out the last minute and hasn't been able to play that game. So I think for me, I'm happy to fade Twal. And I think the other reason is that his minutes haven't been amazing the last few weeks when he has been on the field, 53, 55 and 67 in 2021 and round 22. So we want to get a lot more minutes out of Twal. If he averages 60-plus minutes, he's getting 65 GDS points, very similar to May. Anything below that 60, and we're looking at that 40-plus type score. So I'm happy to put a line through Twal this week, but I'd be happy to eat my words and that reverse as well, because that could definitely be possible. As you said, the Tigers have got pretty much nothing to play for. I don't think they're going to get the spoon. They're in this position where they've got enough wins under their belt, and they've probably got an eye on the end of season trip, whatever that might be.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Right, let's talk Toby Couchman. Off the bench last week, still saw 63 minutes on the park. The output wasn't quite there, though. Just the 51 GDS points, 33, not quite the 50s that we saw in back-to-back weeks back in 21, 20, and 18. But you've got him as a strongly consider. You don't mind that role off the bench, obviously, if he's seeing 63 minutes, but do we think we can see him getting closer to that 60-point average?
Yeah, I still think that it's definitely possible. He's done that throughout the season, pretty much in any game that he's been on the park for 60 minutes. So I would probably say that the 51 probably a few things contributed, coming back from the injury, the state of the game where they're at that time. There's probably a little bit to be said about the combination between his brother as well and everything else that's going on the field. Couchman had Ryan in lock, and then that's sort of eating into each other's workload a little bit last week, I think. It didn't help as well, Ryan Couchman getting absolutely sconed in the face and having to have a HIA, even though he got up and was laughing afterwards. But yeah, look, Toby, in terms of Toby Couchman, 60 minutes or more on the park, he's averaging 66 GDS points this season. So I don't think there's an issue there. The Dragons have obviously got a lot to play for, that they are trying to get off the bottom of the table. They don't want that wooden spoon. And obviously there's plenty of whispers, memes going around as well about potentially the Broncos losing the rest of their games and finishing it with the spoon. So I think the Dragons, there's plenty of motivation for them to have a big game. And I think those young forwards are going to stand up and remind everyone why they're going to be there for a long period of time at the Dragons.
Absolutely. If the Dragons do avoid the spoon, it will be at the expense of the Brisbane Broncos. So with that in mind, they must have a little bit to play for surely as well. Let's talk Payne Haas, Xavier Willison. Xavier Willison back-to-back tries and 60 and 66 point performances. He's been really solid both through the middle or on the edge when he gets that opportunity, and running at the little halves on the edge toward the end of the game always sort of results in tackle breaks. Payne Haas, we haven't quite seen the best of him in recent weeks, of course. Just 2 offloads in the last 5 matches as well. That really caps a big ceiling for him when we've seen, 3 and 4 offloads per game in the past, but just 2 offloads in the past 5. I don't mind either of them as a play, but do you see the Brizzy Bronx with a bit of motivation, and do you like either of those 2 this week?
Yeah, there's motivation. I think Haas is probably been the shining light for the Broncos, along with Willison. I think the 2 of them have really stood up in this really poor patch that they've got at the moment. No Reece Walsh, going to make it a little bit tougher. Ben Hunt in the halves as well, going to add that complexity to a side that's already scrambling for plenty of points, and obviously only getting across the line once last week, which was Willison. But I think, Haas, you mentioned he put away the offload and he hasn't really had any over the last couple of weeks, but he's still averaging 60 or over 60 over the past 3. So there's no need necessarily to keep pushing the offload if he's still scoring 60 plus GDS points for coaches. And again, I think that's the theme of tonight. If we are going to get that 60-point performance out of May, Haas, Couchman, Smith, and then Willison with a little bit more upside, I think I'd be more than happy to put those boys into the team. So I think Haas is just one of those players you can't fade because of the upside that he does have. If he does throw 4 or 5 offloads and he does make a line break on top of the 60 points that he does in base and power, then it's going to be a ridiculous score that we've seen in the 90s from Haas in the past. And then Willison's been absolutely unreal. Take out those 3 points. We said it last week from round 22. Put a line through that, and he's had back-to-back 60-point games, really, 21, 23, and 24 in round 24. And they've all coincided with that try, but also plenty of base and power, averaging across those 3 games, 36 tackles, 150 running meters, and 3 tackle breaks. It's almost 60 points just in base and power from Xavier Willison. And then add that upside of, the short ball over the line, crashing across to score. I think definitely he's going to be a play in the under-24s. It's just whether him or Lindsay Smith comes into the side for my full slate. Potentially, I could see a world where maybe Tyrrell May gets sat this week, and I play both Willison and Smith. Maybe more so in a pod team.
Yeah, I'm more on the Lindsay Smith train. Despite the 52 minutes last week, a little bit disappointing. Probably expect him to see bigger minutes if Isaiah Yo's return is delayed. They're going to need big things there from Lindsay Smith. So it was a surprise to see him subbed off after 30 minutes, and then he seemed to stay on the bench for an eternity through that second half. You'd expect the Melbourne forward pack to stand up against the Penrith Panthers here. They've had obviously a very close battle over the last few seasons. So that's the occasion. You'd probably expect Lindsay Smith to stand up there. 1.29 PPM, 67 points in 52 minutes. Absolutely love what he does. He has the opportunity to score or set up tries like we saw. 4 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, plenty of upside there with no Isaiah Yo on the side. Big fan of the Lindsay Smith play this week. And just quickly, mate, we don't see a repeat of Joe Tarpanay's amazing 84-point performance. I mean, well done to coaches who saw it coming. No Corey Horsburgh means, a lot more opportunity there for Tarpanay through the middle. Yes, he got more minutes, 8 more than average, or about 8 more minutes than average. Did score a try, but he was awesome. 6 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, the biggest for those 2 categories for the season. You don't expect that to continue with the return of Corey Horsburgh?
I just think that the spotlight's going to be on Big Papa. We've already talked about it, his last game. I think it's going to be all about him. And I think Tarpany, he talked about him last week, actually, and how excited he was for the game this week and how he's been an amazing person both on and off the field for Joe Tarpany. And I think for that reason, he won't want to take too much of that spotlight either. He'll play his normal game, but I just don't see a try and another 6 tackle breaks, which is the most that he's had all season in a game, Joe Tarpany, the 6 tackle breaks. So I just can't see that happening again. He will definitely be in my primetime squad, along with a couple of other Raiders, I think, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Expecting an ambush down there in Canberra. Mate, let's talk about the edge forward position. Ryan Couchman is doing excellent things and has certainly shot into prize card selection territory. Alongside Haumole Olakau'atu, Jacob Preston. Who do you like in your starting edge spots this week?
Yeah, when I was looking at the show for tonight, I think this was the easiest position for me to decide on. I think it was just a simple Couchman, Olakau'atu, and Preston into the side, move on, and have a look at where there's some better matchups. The only one that's probably a question mark is Olakau'atu up against the Knights. The last 3 weeks have been a pretty tough matchup for right edges. Surprisingly, it's a left edge against the Knights that have been absolutely dominating. But I don't want to go anywhere near the left edge of the Sea Eagles at the moment. But I think, look, if we look at the last 3 matches against the Knights on right edges, they're averaging 17, but that does include Willison's 3 when he was playing on that edge, and Mariota and Paxton is the other one that played against them in that game. So really, Olakau'atu is probably better than at least Mariota and Paxton put together. and will probably dominate a little bit more. They played earlier in the season, right back in round 2, and Olakuatu only got about 40 GDS points. So hopefully we don't see that again. But I just think the way that he's playing, he's the best player on the field at the moment for the Sea Eagles. They've got to get themselves out of a hole somewhere. So I think there's every opportunity for him. And then the other two, in terms of Couchman and Preston, I think they're just locks. Couchman played the 50 minutes last week. He still scored 54 points. He obviously had that time off the field with the HIA. But I don't think that's any reason to jump off him. I think looking at that, if you were only filtering by last week's points, potentially someone might sit Couchman, this week. But it's still elite base and power from him. He had almost 100 running meters, 41 tackles, and 3 tackle breaks in that game. So I think you're silly to not keep him in the side. And then Preston is just absolutely dominating without an attacking stat. He has just gone to work, averaging 63 purely in base and power of the last 3 weeks. So obviously he is due a line break, a try assist, or even a try this week against the Dragons. Surely we get something. Look, the Dragons have been a little bit better on that right edge as well, or sorry, their left edge defending, but against right edges, Nikora and Suka only scored 30 between them over the last, or average between them over the last 2 weeks. But Fini Fuiaki the week before in round 22 smashed out 66 without an attacking stat. So I think that's probably more indicative of where Jacob Preston's going to be. So I don't think there's any need to look past that. You potentially were looking at Fini Fuiaki though.
Yeah, I'll get to the Dolphins edges in a minute. Matty P's got a good question here. Is it worth playing Simi Sasangi with the injury risk? Look, I've thrown him up there as a point of difference because 100% Simi Sasangi will, for me, be an absolutely red-hot play this week, despite playing in the centres against despite having to pick him in the edge forward position. I don't think that's a worry whatsoever against that Brisbane Broncos left-hand side. It is, of course, as Matty P has identified there, it's the injury risk. We know from his mouth that he's not 100%, but he's made it his duty to take the field for Papa's final game. So that's probably enough for me to not want to play Sasangi in my side, particularly if I'm trying to stay in prize card territory. But look, I think he's an absolute excellent point of difference play if you are reaching for the stars. Yeah, he might leave the field after 15 minutes with a busted shoulder, but he could also go 70 or 80 and celebrate with the rest of the Raiders after a massive win. So yeah, that one's for you guys to decide. It could go either way. Flip a coin, yes or no, and good luck for those that play Simi Sasangi. Dyl, the Dolphins edges got a pretty nice game there. What are they playing? Friday evening against the Parramatta Eels. Fini Fuiaki, like you said before, can get through plenty of work. Doesn't always need an attacking stat to score well. Gee, I wish he would find some attacking stats because it's been a hard watch seeing him play in our GDS sides without getting too much attack. It's going to happen eventually, and surely it's the week that you don't play him. I was tempted to play Maxi Plath in my side. He's been off the bench, had a bit of a hybrid, a bit of an odd role in recent times, but he's finally earned that starting edge spot. But you're not a big fan of Plath this round.
Yeah, I probably like him more playing through the middle. We've seen him come on, as you say, a few times and turn the game around, to be honest, the way that he's come on the field the last few weeks in a bit of a tight spot, and he's just come on and tackled and run his way and the Dolphins' way to victory sort of thing. But it's all been through the middle. The Eels on the left edge or to left edges over the last 3 weeks are only allowing 24 points. He's not going to get the ball as much. He's obviously still going to have to do quite a bit in terms of tackling. Jackie Williams on the right side has been in some great form as well, running that short ball line close to the try line. So he's going to definitely have to get down low and tackle Jackie Williams. But I just don't see it as good as what we've seen it from Plath over the last few weeks. And if someone is looking for a different pod, if you're looking at those 5 on screen and you want to go somewhere completely different, I've got 2 spicy pods. One of them is less spicy, and that's Nikora this week, purely based on that matchup with the Titans. They've allowed an average of almost 70 GDS points to right edges over the past 3 weeks. Laban, Lukey, and McEwen all have gone above 60 GDS points against the Titans. And then if you want to go super spicy, Jaden Hunt for the Broncos up against the Raiders, allowing an average of 72 GDS points to left edges over the past 3. Even go to past 5, and they're averaging 65 to left edges. So it's not just a coincidence over the last 3 weeks. It's more of a 5 rounds. There's something happening there on that right side. Maybe that addition of Simi Sasangi's busted shoulder, Ethan Sanders defending on that side as well. There might be something happening there. I don't know if I can get myself to a Jaden Hunt. As I said, we like to play pretty safe, especially when we are chasing a prize card and we're in that territory. We don't want to take too many risks. But if you need to chase some points, there's some points on offer in both of those games.
I could not stomach a Jaden Hunt in my side, but that Britton Nickera shout, gee, that's pretty spicy for anyone wanting a big ceiling play there. Yeah, excellent. The stats, the numbers are definitely pointing to a big uptick, a big upside game there for Britton Nickera. Dyl, let's move into the halves position. Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines, the standout in the position over for most of the season, really. We're without Lukey Metcalf after his short but pretty impressive rise for coaches that managed to play him for the big game. Sorry to every coach that played him in that injury game as well. But we got to play a third half. For me, that third half position is pretty tricky. The gut feeling tells me that Sammy Walker is due a big game, and the kicking tee responsibility is probably a big reason for that. Anyone that is a bit of a punter would probably expect a massive score from the Sydney Roosters. And we know that when they're scoring points, Sammy Walker's probably got a couple of try assists or kicking plenty of goals. We have seen him go past 100 GDS points this season when they put on 82 points against the Cowboys. We've got to wait until Sunday afternoon for that to happen. I'm tempted to do that, and there'll be a lot of Roosters backs in my side if I still feel that like that's going to happen. But we've also seen that he's got a bit of a flaw, and despite the Roosters playing good footy, he can be sort of just a bit of an organizer or shifting the ball on, and other people are getting the reward or the attack. So for me, it's Sammy Walker just ahead of maybe a Lockie Galvin. Can you give us some insight as to where you might be going for that third half if it's Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines 1-2?
Yeah, it's Walker as well. And as you said, he's got that ceiling. But yeah, the floor, I think it was a -10 that he scored when he returned from Origin, the first game back from Origin. I think, what did he have? About 10 missed tackles and 10 errors in the game or something along those. So yeah, we don't obviously want that game. I don't think that's going to happen against the Tigers. And look, I just put in my notes earlier today, the back half of this show is really going to be themed around the Roosters up against the Tigers. I think in every position we're going to talk about at least one Roosters player. And it's really... It's interesting because Tigers haven't been too bad against left halves in the past 3 weeks, but now they're without Dewey. They've got one eye, as we said, on the end of that season, They've got nothing really to play for. I really think there's going to be something had here, and it's going to be a lot of points on offer. I believe Jock Madden's playing for the Tigers. He's in that half spot, and he's returning from his own serious injury that he had. So that, who knows what that's going to look like as well. But look, Walker in a bit of form. Obviously, that 115 points in his 3-round rolling average to give him 70 over the past 3 weeks. But I think that 115, that game against the Cows, that could be replicated this weekend. In those last few weeks, he's been averaging 12 points from the kicking tee. Oh, sorry, that's across the season, 12 points with the kicking tee. So we know that they're going to score points. They want to keep the top spot. They want to put in plenty of points in terms of points difference. So I think, the Roosters are going to be on fire. They're going to use all of their attacking prowess, and I think Walker's going to have a bit of a field day. Unless DCE on the other side of the field has anything to say about it like he did last week and nabs a few points from Walker. But I'm loading up on Walker as well.
In saying that, 63 points against the Penrith Panthers without a try, just the 1 try assist and 2 goals is pretty impressive there, and he gets a much better matchup this week against the Tigers Sunday arvo. If anyone wants to go against a Sam Walker play, you've got a couple of spicy pods and as early as even tomorrow night.
Yeah, look, there is a couple of pods, and the first one we've got on screen is Lockie Galvin, and I think that's just purely based on how he's playing at the moment. But the others, one that I don't have on screen is Tyron Wishart. And look, he's named, as I said earlier, named on the bench. There potentially could be a switcheroo. If that switcheroo happens, I think he's definitely a point of difference. I don't think many people are going to be playing him. And we've seen in the past few weeks when he does start in the halves, he has a pretty good game. The Panthers as well have allowed 65 GDS points to right halves in the past 3 games. We'd assume that he's going to slot into that right half spot where Munster's playing on the left. Those games, the last 3 in particular, Metcalf scored 88 against Panthers, and then Walker, who we just talked about, 63, as you said. So there's plenty of points on offer there. Wish could be that really great point of difference that no one really is thinking about. The other point of difference that I really like, and I was looking through my cards today, I have 1 gold, and that was the only card I had of Luke Hansen, who gets the call up for the Warriors. We are down to our bare bones in terms of halfbacks and halves in our side. I think we don't want to play Jet Cleary because we are absolutely off him. So we're going with Luke Hansen. The Rabbitohs have been linking plenty of points to right halves this season. In particular, since round 19, we've got Dill Brown, Sanders, Hughes, Hines, Moses, and Galvin all contributing to an average of 68 GDS points against the Bunnies since round 19. Luke Hansen, obviously not in that realm yet. We haven't seen a lot of him, but he's got a massive assignment as well. The Warriors will want to continue their good form. Hansen will want to show what he's got, given this opportunity. It's just whoever's game enough to start singing Mbop up this weekend. I think potentially, if you can, get him into your side.
Absolutely. I just had a quick look in my team as well. I've got 1 gold, Luke Hansen, just like you. Let us know if you've got a diamond or a plat or a silver. I wonder how many Lukey Hansen cards are out there. I've got the number 25 gold. So there are certainly a few, but I'm surprised that I don't have any others. Interesting. Let's see if that trend against the Bunnies continues. Definitely a big assignment there for Luke Hansen. Mate, let's push on because there's plenty to talk about for the backs, particularly with a strong Roosters theme. We'll start in the centres, and there's a name missing there, of course. That's Adam Dewey. Gone for the rest of the season, so we don't really have the double lock in our centre position anymore. Obviously, Herbie Farnworth will be a very popular play for coaches. Just about matchup proof, has a nice one this round. There's certainly no reason to consider sitting Herbie Farnworth, but we've got to play a second centre. For me, it is Rob Toyer, just really given that Tigers matchup.
Yeah.
Obviously, Stephen Crichton playing out of position there in the halves is in consideration as well. Would your second centre be coming from either of those two?
I think it's Toyer. We talk about a lot is when there's a player that is available in the under 24s, and when we're a little bit reluctant to play him in our full round squad as well, because if we're doubling up, then he goes poorly. We have the double whammy of not having a great score there. But I think I'll still be going Robbie Toyer. The reason is Critters, there's a little bit of concern around him, I think. The Dragons are actually playing quite well. They've lost a couple of games. They've had a good win last week, but they're playing quite well and they're defending quite well against left halves. In particular, last 3 weeks, they've held Luai, Trindle and Nikorima to under 35 GDS points. Critter, obviously, his last 3, he had an 82. He had 2 40-point scores after that. Moving to that left half, he's averaging 293 kicking metres, 59 metres on the ground, and then 1 tackle break. Plus, he's got the 3 goals per game that he's kicking as well. So 45 in base is a little bit better than what we've seen and what they've allowed over the last couple of weeks in terms of the Dragons. So there's plenty of opportunity for Critter. I just think that Toyer's matchup is probably a little bit better with the Tigers without Adam Dewey. Averaging 51, the Tigers are to right centres over the past 3. And then Toyer himself averaging 50 over the last 3 with only one try in that time. So, yeah, I think Toyer's matchup slightly better, puts him slightly ahead of Critter. I think there's every opportunity for Stephen Crichton, but I just like Toyer a little bit better.
Yep, I'm with you there as well. Gee, if you said a month ago, how would you like to play a half in your centre spot against the Dragons who's kicking goals? Probably would have jumped at that opportunity, but we're not even, desperate to plug a Critter in. He just doesn't quite seem to get the job done as consistently in fantasy football, despite playing some pretty good ball and kicking goals as well. I do like Robert Toyer a little bit ahead of Stephen Crichton, but I can certainly see some appeal in him this round as well. Dill, Casey McLean returns for the Penrith Panthers. Not an impressive average this season. Showed a lot in glimpses, both last year and this year. It was outstanding in his few minutes off the bench in State of Origin 1. But for me, it's that matchup with the Melbourne Storm right-hand defence and the left-hand attack for the Penrith Panthers. There's no secret Tommy Jenkins will be a pretty popular discussion in the next segment. But we always say when the ball looks like it's heading left with a lot of success, Casey McLean's always going to be there or thereabouts. I think he's definitely a start in the under-24s. But if someone wants to go a little bit different to the strongly considers we have on screen, what do we like out of McLean or Kaoliro?
Yeah, I think, again, this is another one that's quite tough. Kaoliro obviously has a bit better runs on the board than Casey McLean, or even the opposite centre to, in terms of Hiroti, who's come in for Jesse Ramian, who's actually got a better matchup than as well. Casey McLean against the Storm, they're allowing about 42 GDS points over the last couple of weeks to that left centre spot. But the Titans are allowing the Titans matchup's the interesting one. They're allowing 38 to left centres in the past three versus 52 to right centres in the past three. That has me leaning towards Hiroti, which I never thought I would say that on the show, but we haven't got any certainty out of Kaoliro, and except for that sort of 8-game streak where he was scoring multiple tries in a game. He hasn't been at his best, and it's been, probably more so the injuries that he's piled up over the last few seasons for him that's really, limited that scoring opportunity. So if we're purely going off stats, where I generally do when I'm looking at point of differences, Hiroti is just as good as any. Look, Gagai scored 44 last week in the first half of the game against them before coming off. So there could be a massive score on offer there as well for the Sharks, who will want to get back into some winning form, particularly the back end of the season where they've dropped a little bit.
There you go. A couple of spicy pods there. I think, my two centres will certainly come from the Herbie Critter or Bob Toyer. If anyone's interested in Bradman Best, Manly conceding just 23 points to left centres the past 3 matches. And Newcastle Knights, just the 27 to left centres as well with Tolu Kula. Dill, there's a comment in the chat here from Matty P, the Circus Crew. He's going to go Robbie Toyer into the Marky Mark stack. A nice little segue into the wing position. Look, I think Mark will be pretty popular. We've got him there as a point of difference. Probably won't be too much of a point of difference. But I find it hard to still find him in my top 2 wingers. I'm interested to hear your take on this. I do like Suafa-Alongo, despite the Penrith matchup. It's happened so often throughout this season that fullbacks can just score points against the Panthers. The opposition team might only score 1 or 2 tries, but it's the fullback still returning a pretty handy score. With that in mind, and Sua being how good he is at football, I still think he's a pretty easy lock playing fullback in that wing position. So I really like him. We know that Jermaine Asako can score plenty of points on that right wing, also kicks goals, a bit of a cheat code there, a winger kicking conversions. But then we got Tommy Jenkins outside Casey McLean, capitalising on that weak Melbourne Storm right-hand defence. They give up the 3rd most points to left centres, and the 2nd most points, I think it is, to left wingers. So I definitely like the Tommy Jenkins play, and we just know if he scores a try, he's likely to score 2 or maybe 3. Out of those strongly considers, we'll talk Marky Mark soon. What's your rank maybe between those 3?
Yeah, Jermaine Asako is actually top of the list this week. Wow. Very close to Suafa-Alongo in 2nd spot, but it's those 2 for me. It's really hard to fade Asako this week. Facing the Eels, who over the past 2 weeks, they've allowed a combined 148 GDS points to right wingers. Jermaine bounced back last week for coaches for 74 GDS points. He had the massive 290 running meters in that game. He had 6 tackles, 2 line breaks, a try assist, and then a try of his own. And he had 3 goals in that game as well. Interesting, though, he had a 1 tackle break to 3 missed tackle ratio. Usually it's the reverse, but he had more missed tackles than tackle breaks, which meant he had some demerits there as well. So he gave up some points. So for me, it's really the upside and the attacking upside, I think, of Jermaine Asako against that Eels side, who, they had a great game last week, but they still allowed plenty of points to Braden Burns down that right side. He scored a try, set one up. So I think there's every chance that Asako is in the the realm of scoring. Again, we say it every week, whether it's him actually crossing or kicking goals, there's going to be plenty of points for Osako. And then, as I said, Suafalongo straight back into my side after the week off, facing the Panthers. They've allowed 49 in the past 3 to fullbacks. Cody Ramsey missed the memo, though, and didn't score very well. But since round 20, the Panthers have allowed 90 points to Walsh, 63 to Iongi, 58 to Weeks, and then CNK as well scored 65. So, yeah, it's this conundrum that we have of the Panthers. You don't really want to come up against them in a lot of other positions, but definitely at the fullback, they seem to allow plenty of points.
There you go. Some interesting decisions for the centre spot. Mark Nwanganitawase, I dare say, will be fairly popular with coaches looking for a ceiling play. He has hit a 94-point score. That was when the Roosters put on 82 against the Cowboys 3 matches ago. But we have seen a 9-point performance, a 10-point performance in 80 minutes, and a 4-point performance in 26. So there is some concern that Marky Mark may not get off the ground, but I think a lot of coaches will be looking for upside, expecting a bit of a cricket score there Sunday afternoon. Are you tempted to find a spot for Marky Mark, given that we've got a likelihood of a massive ceiling, or do you think the pod play for the round is Dom Young?
Yeah, look, I like Marky Mark, but there's a bit of an issue that I have, and I'll tell you why. His last 4 scores, I'll read them out to you, and I'll start with the Knights, round 21. He had 9 points. The Cowboys, 94. Bulldogs, 20. And then 42 points against the Panthers. Can you tell me the 2 games that I played him in?
Yeah, obviously the 9 and the 20.
And that's my concern. That is my issue with that. It seems like every time I play Nwanganitawase, he does not score very well at all. So I won't be playing him this week, and he's going to score probably 100 points because of that, just to throw it in my face. That is purely the only reason. I think he's a great player. I think, yeah, the stack that Matty P talked about in terms of Toya and Marky Mark stack there, along with James Tedesco at fullback, if he does line up as he's meant to, and then maybe even a Roosters half as well, I think that's a perfect play. My concern is we've talked about in the past where we load up on players and then the opposite occurs to what we think it will in terms of the actual game. But yeah, there are a couple of other players potentially if you want to go somewhere different. You talk about Jenkins, the Storm allowing an average of 46 to left wingers in the past 3. In each of those games, left wingers, they've crossed over it for a try and have an average of 4 tackle breaks. So there's plenty of opportunity for Jenkins. We know what his players like, and he even showed coaches that he doesn't necessarily need a try to actually score some decent points with plenty of tackle breaks as well. The Panthers are probably going to want a really big win. They're very close to losing that second spot as well. So I think they want a big win to get that points difference up ahead of the Warriors. Excuse me. And then really it's probably Dom Young next. And I think he could be a big pod for anyone that is keen to have him up against the Sea Eagles. They've just allowed 74 to Osako, and then a couple of rounds ago, they allowed 52 to Sione Katoa. So there's plenty of opportunity for Dom Young. It seems to go back and forward every second week. Marju has a big game, and then Dom Young has a big game. So I think it's Dom Young's turn this week.
Yeah, for me, it's just easy to stay away from the Newcastle Knights, isn't it? Just can never seem to pick it. Mate, my advice for the round, a little segue here into the fullback position is if you're not too sure on the Marky Mark play, just sit him for the time being. But put a 1 J Tedesco in your reserve back position, because if he doesn't take the field like we've seen in the past 2 matches, I think that's an easy slot in for Mark Nwanganitawase. I would recommend that over the Cody Ramsey, given there's still likelihood of scoring plenty of points out there on the right wing. But look, if you do play Marky Mark in your wing spot and then Teddy is a late out, you've sort of got to find another back there, and you might not have the same sort of quality than you might have if you can plug Marky Mark. In saying that, Teddy's been named. Let's hope he's not a late out, but we don't have a lot of movement, do we, given that Sunday afternoon? We still like him, given that we're expecting plenty of points. Hopefully he'll be fully fit and looking to roll into the back end of the season in some form. So for me, I think he's an absolute lock and load play. We're just going to have to wait probably until Sunday afternoon to make sure he takes the field. For me, I'll leave that spot open there for Marky Mark, just in case he's not going to get up. Kalen Ponga still continues to play some good footy, score plenty of points despite not kicking goals. And Hammer Tabuai Fido is a pretty handy play there as a third fullback for me as well. They've been our strongly considers for the past few weeks. I'm pretty confident in playing them as well. Let's talk about them first, and then there are definitely a couple of points of difference we'll get to shortly. What's your thoughts on James Tedesco and Ponga get the goal kicking back? And is Hammer a pretty safe play?
Yeah, let's start with Tedesco. And look, he returns up against his old club, the Tigers, and I think he'll want to have a big game against them to show them and all their fans exactly what they've missed out on for the last 10 years. Look, it's one of his favourite matchups actually as well. He's past 4 matchups, he's averaged 73 GDS points against them, and he's crossed the line in every one of those games and racked up a combined 35 tackle breaks against the Tigers. So I think if he does take the field, then definitely he is an absolute lock and load. The concern, obviously, if he doesn't, then there might be some concern. I really like the idea of having him on the bench and then potentially pivoting to Marky Mark. It was better than the other options that I had in Dream Buller or Cody Ramsey, which probably would not be great for your GDS side or potentially a prize card opportunity. But yeah, Tedesco, I think as long as he takes the field, and hopefully we find out pretty early whether that's the case and we can make some adjustments if necessary, would be unreal. But look, Ponga, I think, is an absolute lock. The Seagulls restricted Hammer to less than 40 last week when we thought it was going to be a big play, which is a little bit disappointing, but Sewer knocked out 63 the week before that. So it's fair to say that I think Ponga is one of those hard-to-fade players at the moment based on his current form, based on the way the Knights are playing. They're just rolling into the finals quite nicely at the back end of the season. Ponga's averaging 58 over the past 3, and he hasn't kicked goals, and he's only scored 1 try in that. So fingers crossed this is the week. It's been 3 weeks Sandon Smith's kicked goals, and Ponga's sort of slowly returned from that, a little niggle, and hopefully he gets the kicking tee back and we get those bonus 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. points on offer that we know that we'll lock away for Ponga on top of that. So if we get a 70-point game from Ponga because he's kicking goals, that would be unreal. For me, though, the question marks is the Hammer, is Tabuai-Fidow, whether we actually do play him or not. He's been a little bit disappointing. We've talked about him the last 3 weeks, thinking that he's going to have some big games, and he's only averaged 48 GDS points. But he's scored 3 tries in those games. And each week we've sort of said he doesn't necessarily need a try. He's got plenty of attacking on offer. He loves to set up tries. He loves to have line breaks. But he's just not really doing that at the moment. They're sort of relying on a lot of players across the field, which is great for the Dolphins, but just not so good for anyone that is playing the Hammer at the moment. Drinky did score 57 last week against the Eels, but 15 of those points did come off his boot at the kicking tee. So I don't necessarily see Hammer having a smash play. And look, there hasn't been a score above 50 against the Eels from a fullback since round 17, and that was Jai Gray. So I don't know if I can trust the Hammer this week, and I might take a risk on one of the 2 pot options. One we've got on screen, but one is missing, and he's actually missing from the injury/suspension list as well. He's been there for, I want to say, the whole season, but Latrell Mitchell, is he a play this week?
Yes, I was going to bring him up alongside Tom Trebojevich's name as 2 absolute weapons of fantasy football when they are fit and firing. They return this week. We might see Latrell get into the starting team, or he might come off the bench. If he comes off the bench, probably put a line through him. There's definitely going to be limited game time there. But gee, if a coach is trying to get a little bit different to the rest of the people, playing a Tom Trebojevic alongside a Latrell Mitchell has got to be one of the highest upside plays you will ever see in GameDay Squad Rugby League, both returning at the same time. That would be an absolute fantastic story to see. I definitely cannot get there myself, but I'll certainly be rooting for both of them if they take the field, and hopefully they can return from injury without any significant issue. But yeah, geez, look, if you play a Tommy Turbo and a Latrell Mitchell, I want to see a screenshot, please. Get that through to FantasyBros Instagram or to Dyl or I on Discord. That'll be awesome. G'day, we got Cozzy's Posse joining us a little bit late to the party. It's putting up the security lights for the wife. Good on you, buddy. Just a quick message to anyone watching. Trust in the bros. Absolutely. Last week he tried something different. He went from chocolates to boiled lollies. Give us a little bit of info about what that might mean, buddy.
Don't do that. I think he means that 2 weeks ago he had a decent result in the classic comp, I believe, and then last week
that's right.
he had
Yes,
absolutely nothing. But yeah, he's definitely listening. Look, just on Latrell Mitchell, the hard part I think is that when he plays, they're playing 5:30 Saturday night. You've got the Knights, Sea Eagles, and Dolphins already played. So Ponga, Turbo, and Hammer have already played, and only Teddy really left. So if something does happen and Latrell Mitchell's not named, then there's not really too many options to pivot to after that. So it's going to be quite a difficult one. I guess it's about making that decision. I think for me, out of all of it, is do I go Hammer or do I put some faith in old Glassman Tommy Turbo? Is that an option coming back from another soft tissue injury where it seemingly happened out of nothing? He sort of just had a little run down the short side and then he was on the ground for ages and that was it. We thought his season was probably done. He's come back miraculously. Is he someone that we can get around? Is he someone that I want to get into my side against the Knights, who they've allowed 52 to fullbacks this season, and they've been really dominant fullbacks over the last couple of weeks against the Knights as well. Teddy kicked it off a month ago with 69 against them in round 21, Walsh 52, Weeks 58, and then Kinney 45 last week. There is an opportunity for Turbo to score well, but am I silly in thinking that he's going to come back and be the Turbo that we expect, knowing the injury history?
Yeah, look, Manly are 2 wins outside of the 8, and if they're to have any chance, it needs to start this weekend with a win against the Knights, who are a couple of wins in front of them. So maybe it's a matter of we're just throwing all our chips in and getting Tommy Turbo out there and hoping he can spark us to a victory. You got to question whether he is underdone or fit and firing. I certainly do not want to risk that. If I do have a Tommy Turbo in my side, I'm definitely not watching that game. I'm going away and doing anything else and maybe just peeking at the scores a little bit later on and hoping I don't have to scroll down too far to see Tommy Turbo's name on the live scores. Not for me, mate, but someone I am really interested in is KO Weeks. And finally, we get to see a Raiders team playing on the primetime. So he will definitely get a spot in my Stats Lab primetime competition on Friday evening. But he's every chance of getting a run in a couple of main teams as well, given the scores he's putting up pretty consistently without even scoring tries. The last 3 matches, 41, not great, 58 and 58. But all of those matches are without any tries, just 2 try assists and 2 line break assists. What's been most interesting or most appealing is 12 tackle breaks against the Knights and 13 against the Panthers. Just the 5 last week, but when we say just 5, look, that's still pretty handy, 15 points. He's hit 10 or more tackle breaks 3 times this season. And if we're expecting a bit of a Raiders ambush and a big celebration for Papa's final game there, Kyo Weeks is going to have his hands on the footy a lot and causing a lot of damage. Gee, I'm tempted to play him. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, you talk about the tackle breaks. He is very close to the league leader in terms of tackle breaks. He's 2 behind Herbie Farmworth at the moment. Obviously, he's got a game in hand, I believe, against or over Herbie. But yeah, he is absolutely unreal in those tackle breaks. The Broncos as well, pretty decent option this weekend for fullbacks. 53.5 over the last 3 weeks to fullbacks. Kalen Ponga 58 in round 22. Hammer had a 59 in round 23. Chance not as good, the 42 in round 24. But we obviously know what happened with Chance having to have an early shower for a couple of minutes with that hip drop on Reece Walsh. So he didn't have a lot of time on the park. So yeah, there's every opportunity that there's a big score there from Weeks in front of a massive crowd. For Big Papa, I think there's plenty of chance that he has a big game. I think, again, it comes down to the fact that he's available in the under-24s. He's going to have a lot of salary for me in the under-24 side. I just don't know if I could bring him in and have the double play in terms of the full round and the under-24 and then potentially the prime time as well. So there's a lot of value put on KO Weeks and there's good reason, but I just would rather diversify just a little bit across my full round side.
Yeah, absolutely. Some good advice there. Gee, I feel like this round I'm the least certain about a number of positions. And Yeah, it's not good just because, I don't know, it's the fact that there's not too many standouts jumping out at me in positions that we might have had in the previous rounds. I think there are a number of players who all have similar shouts for reasons to get a start. So maybe that means we could have a lot of different sides and not everyone maybe necessarily picking the best two in most of those positions. So yeah, really excited to see what evolves this round. What I'm not excited about anymore is BroDown ShowDown, which we'll get to. Before we get there, let's preview the Stats Lab Primetime competition. As always, a massive shout out to JT and the Stats Lab for everything they do, not just for the Fantasy Bros, but for GameDay Squad as well. They've got excellent tools available for all coaches, stats for every game, matchup strength, play comparisons, a whole heap of analysis tools to help you dominate GameDay Squad, and all of the data that Dyl and I get and put on the screen are courtesy of the Stats Lab. So make sure you head over to the statslab.app and check out all of their resources and see if you can find out the players they're going to take you to glory this round. I love seeing all of the green on that screen here. Probably could have Kyle Weeks ahead of Hammer in the fullback spot as well. But I had to put Papali'i there as a start. Like I said, probably, I'm going to say it, guaranteed a try, whether he crashes over himself or backs up a 90-meter run from Kyle Weeks and he just pops it to him. There's got to be a reason to get Papa a try. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to whack him in my side. Obviously hasn't been scoring too well, but this is the week we're going to see it. We remember his 300th not too long ago, crashed over for 2 tries. He's going to up that to 3 in his farewell down at
goal in that game as well,
Canberra.
didn't he? He had the last goal kick.
Yep.
Likely
to see that again this week, surely. Come on, big Papa. Jackie Williams and Lindsay Smith, pretty solid middles there as well. Jeremy Marshall-King or Harry Grant in your hooker spot, maybe even Owen Paddy. Geez, plenty of decisions there in the hookers. Fino Fuyaki, Simi Sasungi, if you want to have a little bit of risk and plenty of upside there on the Raiders ambush. Nathan Cleary, Ethan Sanders. Again, if you think the Raiders are going to score plenty of points, he'll be kicking goals. We've seen a massive ceiling performance from him in the past. I don't mind that at all. Herbie Farnworth, Casey McLean, maybe the best of a bad bunch, taking advantage of that Storm right-hand defence. Tommy Jenkins, Sua Fa'alongo, and a couple of decent fullbacks to choose from. Kyle Weeks, Hammer, etc. Very strong side there. That means we've definitely got some good games Thursday, Friday. Here's our starting 13 across the entire week. Terrell May, Payne Haas, Toby Couchman. Let's get rid of the Alex 12 card there. We've got Toby Couchman in our side. Blakey Brayley, maybe just edging out a couple of other hookers because he's guaranteed the 80 minutes, whereas others aren't. Jacob Preston, Hamole Olakawatu on the edges, Nico Hines, Nathan Cleary in the halves, Herbie Farnworth, Bobby Toyer in the centres, Fa'alongo, Jenkins / Jermaine Azarko is definitely making a stronger case for me now. And Kalen Ponga, James Tedesco, plenty of good options there in the fullback position. Wait, what happened here? Gone. Have to put up the results on the screen. You can see there that Stu's waving a little bit of a white flag there. BroDown ShowDown competition for season 2026 is done. Dyl scraped a 0.8 point victory with Nathan Cleary getting up over Nico Hines, taking the win 2-1, and that means his lead is insurmountable. I was making a late comeback there, but Nico Hines had other plans despite being the sole playmaker on the field after Trindle left. You expected a probably 70 or 80 point performance from him there. You can tell I'm not dirty about that at all. We've spun the wheel, and a massive congratulations to, you saw it before, but Tracy Wall. Thanks very much for your support, Tracy. And given it's the round 25 show, Dyl, I think that's a unique pack heading Tracy's way.
It is, mate. Right? It is. So congrats to Tracy. You had faith in me. I think there was only one of three. That's 3. So Tracy, 1 and 3. Well done there. So let's get into this unique pack. Should be able to see that on screen.
Got it.
Unreal. Good luck, Tracy. Let's get you some decent cards for the week ahead. Alrighty, kicking us off, we've got nothing great so far. Jesse Ramian, Adam Reynolds, Saifidi, Jai Arrow, Nickera. We talked about him as a potential pod, so you can get that plat into your side. Tommy Chester, unfortunately, on a bye, and then Teague Wilton on the other side for the Sharks. So, Tracy, make sure you hit me up and I'll get those into your account. I might add a couple of others there for you because there's not a whole lot on offer there for you. So I will get you something a little bit better than that for sure.
Unfortunately, BroDown Showdown does continue, despite me having no chance of catching Dyl, but we'll still continue so that you guys can get your hands on some prizes and some cards before season's end. Here's what we've spun. We spun the fullbacks, the edge forward, and the middle forward. I've gone James Tedesco, Hamole Olakwatu, and Lindsay Smith up against Dyl's Ponga, Ryan Couchman, and Payne Haas. As always, get your comments in. If you think my players head-to-head in the three positions will get up over Dyl's, comments due. If you think Dyl's going to continue his hot streak and sail out to a massive victory, comment Dyl. You can either do that in the show comments right now. If you're catching up later on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, type them in the comments section as well. We'll get your name. We'll add you to the wheel next week, just like we did for Tracy Wall this evening. We've already got a number of you going for Dyl. Cozzy Pozzy going Dyl. Matty P is backing me. Thank you very much. And we got Izzy with his Dyl as well.
Love it.
All righty. That is it for the round 25 preview show for Rugby League. Don't disappear just yet. Need to go put some dinner on, put the kids to bed, have a drink of water, and fire up the Fantasy Bros live stream in about 25 minutes' time when Dyl, Matt, and I go live for an NFL live show. We're going to preview our top 10 tight end positions. So if you're not too familiar with the gridiron or the NFL sport, jump on, get a whole heap of information from us regarding the tight end position, and we'll be dropping the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers pretty shortly as well. As always, thanks for joining us, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, and on Instagram. Good luck for round 25. Dyl, good luck, mate. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, mate.